remote or anywhere or any slack? I mean, in your view, or anything they can change in the model?
No, and if any dairy inflation comes along, again, you should consider that in your analysis too. I already think this is a difficult proposition, but as I mentioned, if dairy inflation comes along and compresses margin, this is going to be even a tougher road for them.
Got it. Okay. No, that's very helpful. And then, so we covered a lot of the kind of things that they can do themselves, right? I mean, they obviously have a lot of these pressures, and they're doing the cost savings, which will probably be enough. But I mean, from your history with the company, and maybe in terms of how they set targets with the public market, I mean, what is your sense as the management? I mean, at least from the outside, it seems like they always kind of set too optimistic targets and miss them, or I mean, there's just too many factors outside their control. I mean, what's your sense and experience?
Yeah,
of the company?
I think, as I've alluded to a few times, the category dynamics are the one thing that is out of their control, and it's a very challenging issue. But I think the over optimism that you mentioned comes from what I discussed before, that this network optimization exercise is really, really challenging. It's also a large investment, but I think a lot of those programs tend to look good on paper, and the math seems to check out fine, but in practice, they're a lot more challenging than you think. And I think that's where there's maybe they've had the operations experts say, we can take out X cost, and then once they get to execution, it's more challenging than they underestimated how challenging it would be, and that's the optimism gap that I think has been created.
And would you say this management team is a little bit kind of, in terms of setting targets? I mean, would you say this team is kind of the same as the prior teams, or a little bit worse, so a little bit too optimistic sometimes, versus, or kind of more realistic than the prior teams you worked with?
Yeah, I would like to tell you that they should have learned their lessons from the past. I mean, they've lost significant Walmart volume before, and they were able to kind of understand what that meant to them. I would hope that information, and that management would have used that to its advantage, but I can't confirm or deny it. I'd only be speculating and telling you this, but a lot of the people who were there and saw that happen, they may not be at the business anymore. It's a kind of a newer management team, but I'm sure they understand how tough of a go this was back in 2013 and 2014.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay, no, that's helpful. And then talking a little bit about the end market kind of dynamics, the supply and demand. So what have you, in terms of kind of the volumes, maybe first of all, have you seen any change? I mean, it's been obviously going on for like -2, -3 last couple of years, like few years, right? The overall.
It's been decades, all right, and the trend has not changed for decades. I've seen it get as bad as -4, and I've seen it be. We've had years that are outliers where milk didn't decline. That was sort of during the recession that I alluded to, where mm-hmm. consumers tended to not go out, and they shopped more at grocery stores and they ate at home. Mm-hmm. But besides that, right, if you look at the category and you look at the 4 fats, right, you see like whole milk is 3% fat and then skim has no fat in it. What's been declining is skim and 1%. Right, so that was kind of seen as the healthy alternative, right? That consumer has gone to plant-based, and that's what's happened over the last decade. That was fine when Dean owned a plant-based business, right? Because they owned Silk at one point, and that's the number 1 brand, right? But if you go look at the trends on whole milk, and again, that's a lot of